everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Beginners Competitors Corner. Hi, Chantel.
Hi.
Hi, today we're very excited because I have a really special guest today. So I have Chantel with me. Chantel let me give you a little intro about who Chantel is. So Chantel Spaulding is a teacher, personal training, online coach. So I will give her details at the bottom of this video. And she's also a figure competitor. So we know we love our figures athletes here. She has devoted her life to teaching intermediate senior students in science, physics ed, and family studies, as well as working with youth who have special educational needs. So she has a big heart. She also always wanted to have a passion for helping people reach their goals in fitness and health. And Chantel is an overall athlete. She grew up playing volleyball, football, and basketball. And during her grade 11 year, she was introduced to weightlifting. And since then, she hasn't been able to keep her weight off her hands. After pursuing her teacher college in Australia, so very international, she decided to pursue a bucket list of her goal of competing in her first bodybuilding competition in 2018. That urge of wanting to remain competitive athlete in her adult years has motivated Chantel to continue to pick up her heels and strut her stuff on stage. Welcome, Chantel.
Hi, everyone.
First of all, I want to say congratulations on winning 2 shows. So you competed in a regional show.
Yep.
Fouad, I'm not saying it's at Fouad Abiad Championship, so you guys probably know his podcast. You won the overall in figure there, so congratulations on that. And then you went on to do the Toronto Pro qualifying show,
Yes.
right? And then you placed top 3, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank
so,
you.
Before we start, like I did mention in your bio that you are a professional, you are a teacher. And I know that we talked a little bit about what we want to talk about. So today, I think this is going to be for everyone. Like if you're a professional and then you're thinking about competition, you're not sure how you can navigate that with your peers and what you do for work. And also, how do you prepare for 2 shows in a row? All right, Chantel, talk to us a little bit about your journey. How was your prep? And this is your 2nd show, right?
This was my 3rd and 4th show.
Sure, but I meant like in terms of competition. So you took a break. So tell us a little bit your journey. How did you get here?
So originally in 2018, I did the CanFit Pro show. And then after that, I did the Natural Pro Qualifier. So that was 2019. And then COVID happened. I wanted to take some time off, put on a bit more muscle. And that's when I decided to do the Fouad Abiad regional show. And that was May 28th. And then right after, a week later, did the Toronto Pro shows on June 3rd, June 4th.
June 4th, 2022.
Yeah.
Yes. And tell us that process for you to like the first time you compete to the second time. How is it different the second time around? First year.
I felt it was a little bit easier because there was only a week apart from the shows. I think it would be different or a little bit more challenging if it was like maybe an 8-week gap to continue that momentum to keep going. However, I won't lie, like there was a part of me that was like, oh, I placed top 3, like I'm good at this. So maybe I should attempt like North Americans, which is, I think it's an 8 week, well, at the time, 8 weeks. And that's in the States. But then there was something telling me, and my coach even, like, based on my placing, I need to put on more size. So let's just take an off season. And again, health always comes first. So my health is number 1. So yeah, the plan is right now we're just kind of in an off season and reversing out of the last 2 shows.
I think people don't realize how much of doing a prep competition puts a toll on your body, right?
Yes.
Because like your metabolism is like I'm currently on my off season, and after like my felt prep, like complicated reasons. But I wanted to know, like, because you had taken some time before you decide to compete again, like how different like that season of going back after some time off, like what was the difference? What were the challenges, and what made this time around like for you to be like, doing much better, more successful season for you?
It's funny because originally pre-COVID, I thought I was just gonna go and doing a show 2020, but obviously that didn't happen. And I also didn't, I mean, there were shows that did go on, but it was more towards the end of the year. And I didn't want to keep being in that, okay, this is the show that I'm going to do. And then I hear that it gets canceled. Like to me, that's going to put more stress and pressure on my body. So I wasn't about to say, oh, this is the show I'm doing, and then to have it get canceled, I just wasn't into. But I think it was a blessing in disguise for COVID. Like I've even said, like it's helped my career with teaching. A lot of people have retired, so it helped me in that aspect. Nice. Maybe with the inconsistency of gyms opening and closing, that was a struggle. At-home workouts are not for me. To me, when I think of at-home workouts, my mind instantly goes to Jane Fonda, well before my time. But that's just what I think of. And I can't do stuff with bands. I find it boring. I won't lie. There is like a part of my program where I do some banded things, like just as activation, warm-ups and mobility. And there's this part of me that when I'm doing those movements, I just feel like, oh, this is lame. Like, can I pick up the weights yet? But again, it's a process. So it's again, right, warming up, but I still feel like, do I have to do this?
Yeah, I completely understand. Like, and thank you for being honest. Like some people really love the at-home gym, some don't. But if it's not for you, it's not for you, and you feel more comfortable at the gym. You do what works best for you, and like basically, right? Exactly. And what else did you change from this season versus the first time in 2018 when you competed?
I changed my workout location a lot. Okay. I tried not to necessarily. So also, like, as you mentioned, I'm a personal trainer at a gym, and working out for me has always just been like it's like my therapy time. I don't like, my headphones are on. Sometimes a hoodie is up and my face can sometimes look a little bit more miserable because it's just me in my zone. And I've always just used sports as like a stress reliever. So that moment in the day, that hour and a half or however long it is, that's just my Zen time. And I found working out at my gym in the past, there'd be too many people that know me, whether it's staff, clients, or just other members. And I kind of needed to get away from people. And I know no one means anything bad by like saying hi or a quick, like, how are you doing? But there's this part of me, it's just like, just don't talk to me. Like, I just like, this is like my moment. Like, I just need to like de-stress from dealing with children, parents of kids. So definitely switching up my location of where I was working out. So I go to different Good Lives, just different gyms as a whole. That made a huge difference. I'm in a relationship that it's with someone who's understanding of my sport because they're an athlete as well. And then also now my parents, originally they weren't necessarily the most supportive. I think you can understand as a Black woman, culturally, we like to see a little bit more meat on our women, whereas they would think like, oh my gosh, you're losing too much weight. Like, what's going on? Whereas now it's like, they've noticed this isn't just like a bucket list thing. This was my third and fourth show. So they were a little bit also more receptive to me competing. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those are. You
hit a lot of points here. You talked about environment, and I think we've talked about it in some of our shows, how environment is crucial in terms of helping you reach your goal. You used environment in terms of for working out, for because you need to be like concentrated and not be distracted, right? Yeah. And you use environment also in terms of your personal life, right? Having people who support you and your family. How important is those aspects for you to have a successful prep?
I'd say they're huge. It's a matter of like not letting people that are maybe negative get into your head. It's much easier to pursue something when you have support, maybe a helping hand. And when I say a helping hand, there were times where, for example, like I didn't have any shorts to wear because they were all dirty, and my partner would throw them in the wash for me and they'd be dry by the time I'm ready to go for my cardio in the morning. It's such a simple thing. Or oh, like, are you out of asparagus? Do you need peppers? Oh, I'm on my way home. I'll stop at the grocery store and grab that for you. Like, these are just, they seem like such little things, but they mean so much. I don't know if I ever really expressed that my dad necessarily isn't the biggest support. He supports from afar. But I remember when I first started the sport, and he was just like, yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to come to your show. Whereas this time around, he was wishing me luck. He didn't come into the building. He dropped my mom off and stayed in the parking lot. But hey, that was a step closer. And I won't lie, the amount of times like my dad has said like, oh, you got this, just words of encouragement and like tears. But you know how preps can be emotional.
Yes, great for that. That must have been awesome to be able to, go on stage in front of your family and having your support system and your partner and your mother and your dad, even though he's not in the stand, but knowing that he's supporting you this time around. So that probably helped a lot in terms of going to the prep and being on stage, because we know although it's like 15 seconds or whatever, but how long was your prep?
I started like right after my birthday in January. So 21 weeks, 20 weeks.
21 weeks. So like 5 months, right?
Yeah. And like, even like my staff were supportive.
Really?
Oh yeah. Even like my students, they were like, can we come watch? And I was like, I don't know if that's like a conflict of interest. So I was like, no.
Yeah, let's go back on that, because sometimes, we're not bodybuilders full time, right? We have careers, and sometimes we have careers that are a little bit, we're not sure, should we share or not share what we do? So if you decide to be transparent and share, like, because you're a teacher, right?
Yeah.
In a high school, right?
Yeah.
So you decide to be open and share with your colleagues and your students your journey?
100%. Just because originally, like I said, this prep is very different. It's a new coach. Again, 20 weeks, it allows me to slowly go into the sport and not be rushed, compared to like someone who's doing a 14-week prep, and depending on how much weight that they had to lose. Right. But I knew from past prep, sometimes I can be a little bit moody. So I wanted to warn my students, like, oh, if I'm moody, because I have to, like, if you see me eating in class, this is the reason why. There were times where I would have to run out of my class to go to the washroom because I'm drinking a lot of water. And they're probably wondering, like, why does this teacher keep leaving the room? And then like one of my EAs, like, she knew that I had to, at first I was running out to go microwave.
What's an EA, by the way?
An educational assistant.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So there was one time where I was running out to go microwave my food, and my EAs would watch the class. And she was just like, I can bring you a microwave. Like, I have an extra one. And she brought the microwave into my class. So I would just microwave my food in class. So again, like, it's not necessary. Like, these are people that I've only known for a few months, me being in this spot. And then to receive that kind of support from people who don't even know me that well, again, that's huge. So definitely makes the prep a little bit more easy, less stress.
I really like that, because sometimes you feel like you need to hide and you don't want to cause more trouble to people. It's too complicated. So I've been in situations like, I wish, I would have done differently, but, because I was in a meeting, I had to stay like 12 hours without eating because it was stressful, right? Yeah. And so I guess all of these things that you did, like, help alleviate your stress that you had, right? For the prep, and already the physical stress that you have to induce because of all the workout that you're doing. So that probably helped in terms of preparing you. And I was curious, like, for you, what, like, some people have like, oh, it's hard to, I don't know, lose a lot of fat, or like retain a lot of water. What are your challenges usually that you worked on for this prep and that you were successful in overcoming?
I've always hated vegetables.
Vegetables, really?
I'm the pickiest eater. I would actually say that bodybuilding has expanded my palate, because I probably had never had a cucumber until I got into bodybuilding.
Ah,
And I
okay.
find this weird ways to like consume food, which I'm sure you've heard of. Like I'll put cinnamon on my cucumbers and call it like a bootleg Timbit because
Okay.
I don't know, things that trick my mind to eat certain things. And then now I'm like, how could I not eat all these things that I was missing in my, like peppers I had never eaten, asparagus I hated, and then I discovered an air fryer. So that
Yeah, best
changed
thing
the game
ever.
of how I consume things. Water was a struggle because growing up, I would have pop for breakfast. Like
Oh,
that
okay.
was very much my diet. Even when I was in Australia, I would totally open up a can of Sprite with my breakfast and have or a huge glass of chocolate milk with all the Nesquik syrup. So I would say like diet was a huge thing for me in terms
Okay.
of getting used to consuming foods in a more clean state. Like I maybe thought, no, I was going to say, maybe I thought I was eating healthy. I definitely was not. Diet,
Yeah,
it was always so much easier for me to get to the gym. And then I would try to outwork a bad diet.
yes. We've all been there. Trust me,
Yeah.
Chantel. Okay, so you usually it's in your diet, and then were you able to like, oh, I guess you were able to overcome that, obviously. But how were you able to stick to your diet like throughout that 5 months?
Bringing my food everywhere. Literally just yesterday, I brought food to a wedding, which I
Oh,
had never done. And one thing I always think of is like, I don't want to offend anybody.
yes.
I don't want it to make it seem like either I'm too picky or I don't think the food looks good. Like, and then I just kind of explain and people understand. I think also with the times and everyone has intolerances and allergies, I think people are way more accepting to you bringing your food somewhere. Even just the other week, I brought a meal to a Blue Jays game, which I don't know if in the past that was frowned upon where you couldn't bring outside food because they want you to buy food that's in the stadium. But again, people have allergies and intolerances and all these special diets. So there's places that are way more accepting than we think.
What do you say to them? I'm just curious, so I could use that myself.
I would honestly just say, oh, like I'm on a special diet or I have I don't have any allergies. I just kind of make it up.
Okay, but it just helps, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
And then people are really understanding.
Oh, okay, cool. That's good to know. That's a great tip. And so we're gonna wrap up very soon, but I want to know, like, tell me, like, what was the biggest, I guess, a gift of this prep for you or this season, this competition that you just completed? Like, what have you learned about yourself, and what are the gifts that you're taking from this?
I would say working in silence. This was usually in the past. I've been that competitor that would be like, okay, 8 weeks out, hashtag 7 weeks out, and putting on blast of what I'm doing, when I'm gonna do it, and everything. This time around, it was no one knew I was stepping on stage. A lot of the people that were closest to maybe they knew, but outside of that, people were just like, oh, like you're losing a lot of weight or you look small. What's going on? And I would lie and blatantly say, photo shoot.
Ah,
um, yeah.
okay.
So I found working in silence this time around really helped it. Staying off of social media in the sense of like, I used to do this a lot, which was I would look up like, oh, who's doing my show? Who do I have to compete against? And to me, it was just think any and everyone is going to be there. And it's you versus you, which again, it really was this time around. Like my first, when I got my new coach, the first conversation was my goals. And it was, I want to win an overall and I want to
Okay.
place top 3 at a pro qualifier. I did exactly that. So I got exactly what I wanted out of this prep. Couldn't be any happier. But yeah, I would say definitely working in silence and just focusing on you.
So I'm curious. So why did you choose that approach?
That's a good question. I think it was maybe, I won't lie, maybe a little bit of nervousness because I find some people, I don't want to say brag, but they will kind of boast about this is what I'm setting out to do. And to a point, I used to do the same thing. There's a part of me that like to say that, oh, if I put this out in the atmosphere and tell people, it holds me accountable. Whereas this time around, it's the only one that's holding me accountable is myself. There's no one that's going to be cheering me on. It's just me. There's no one else that is aware of anything that I'm doing. I don't feel like I'm going to disappoint anybody else. If anyone's going to be disappointed, it's just going to be me. So I think that was, I'd say, my intentions there.
Okay, that's great. That's basically kind of like using your internal whatever source you have, validation you have, but not relying on the outside to dictate how you should feel and how you should do. And it's only you versus you, basically. Yeah. That's a really cool approach. I think I've seen others do that. And I think Sid Gillen, I think she calls it silence, right? Is that what she calls it? Silence, right? That's interesting. And obviously it worked for you. So maybe that's a good tip for others to follow too. You know what? Maybe, could be a variation of that, right? If usually you post every single day, maybe it's like, you know what, this time around, I will do maybe once a month or something and see how I feel and see if it actually makes a difference, So when you hear stuff, I always tell people like, listen, apply it and, check for yourself and see how it works for you, right?
Exactly. Even with like, when you mentioned posts, like if I was posting anything, I made sure it was minimum 4 weeks old. I wasn't posting anything that was new.
Oh, okay. So that's another strategy. Yeah. And where can we find you on Instagram?
You can at C Spaulding 2.
Okay, C Spaulding 2. So I'll probably put it on the, they'll see it there. Wonderful. And if people want to know more about like coaching and online, where can we reach you, Chantel?
So I have a website. It's super easy. It's my name. It's www.chantelspaulding.com.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So you hear it today. We had Chantel. She's a coach and also an online coach and also a figure competitor and winner now overall of the Fouad. Am I saying his name? Fouad
Abiad.
Fouad championship. If you don't know, he has a podcast. You can go check it. And she finished top 3 in the Toronto Pro Qualifier. So what's next for you after this?
It's a good question. There's a part of me that wants to maybe attempt an international show just because I was considering the North Americans. I also want to see with like the rules of how everything lines up, because I know it's now 12 months from your show versus before it was you had the full year. So yeah, so I think I just want to take some time, figure things out, see how I reverse, and then we're going to go from there.
Awesome. And we are wishing you luck and we are cheering you on. And, it was awesome to have you today, Chantel. Anything you want to leave before you want to say that I didn't ask you want to share?
I would just like to make sure that everyone knows that stop making excuses, continue to push for what it is that you set out to do, and there's always going to be a way that you'll need to pivot. So again, with gym closures, with COVID, I found a gym who believed in fitness and health and how it benefits you to fight against COVID, that they stayed open. So I made sure that like I got a membership before and kept it on like the down low, but they just, again, with everything with closures and everything, but I found a way to achieve my goals and didn't just let whatever boulder that was coming down on my back stop me from achieving what it was that I was setting out to do. So that's
really well said. So basically, like, you know what? Pivot. I love that. Be flexible, pivot, and stay on course. It's always possible to reach your goal. So we're very proud of you, Chantel. Thank you so much. And we're wishing you best luck in your journey. And we'll see you very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you.